You're 18 when the markets collapse. Not the stock markets, those died weeks ago, but the real markets. The ones in the tunnels beneath the city. The ones where people trade ammunition, medicine, food that isn't government ration slop. Your older brother runs a stall. He teaches you the basics while infected pound on the concrete walls above. Everything has value. Nothing has meaning. He disappears 3 months later during a supply raid. You don't ask where he went. The market doesn't care about sentiment. You start as a runner. That's what they call people like you. Young enough not to be missed. Fast enough to make deliveries before the patrols change shifts. Your job is carrying packages from point A to point B. You don't ask what's in them. Knowledge is liability. You carry a backpack of black market antibiotics to a settlement 3 miles north through infested tunnels. You carry communications devices disguised as water bottles. You carry pills in jars labeled as vitamins. You carry weapons component parts wrapped in plastic. Each delivery could get you killed by infected or by military patrol. Your payment is in bottle caps. Actual bottle caps, stamped with serial numbers that mean something only to market leadership. They're lighter than money but worth more. A single cap feeds you for a day. 2 caps buy antibiotics. 10 caps might get you shelter for a week. Your brother taught you the exchange rates before vanishing. You memorize them like scripture. You survive on what the market pays. A runner exists in constant fear. The fear isn't just of infected, though they're always there, shambling outside perimeters, scratching at barriers. The fear is of military patrols who confiscate stock without compensation. The fear is of other runners who might rob you for what you're carrying. The fear is of making navigation mistakes and getting lost in tunnel systems where the infected congregate. The fear is of showing weakness because weakness gets you killed faster than any infection. After 6 months, you've learned the tunnel system better than you know your own heartbeat. You recognize infected by their movement patterns. You know which patrols follow predictable routines and which ones are unpredictable. You know the vendors by reputation, who's reliable, who's a cheat, who sells counterfeit medicine that kills people. You know the safe houses where runners rest between deliveries. You're promoted to trader. As a trader, you're allowed to set up a stall. Your territory is the Eastern Corridor, a stretch of tunnel reinforced with concrete and steel where maybe 30 other traders operate. The air is thick with moisture and the smell of unwashed bodies. You're selling ammunition primarily, but also medical supplies, food, and information. Information is incredibly valuable. Someone needs to know where a water source is. Someone needs to know which sectors are getting military clearance sweeps tomorrow. Someone needs to know which vendors are selling poison supplies. You collect data and sell it to the highest bidder. Your stall is 2 concrete blocks stacked as a counter with a metal grading shelf behind it. Behind you, a wall of inventory in waterproof containers organized by category. Your currency is bottle caps, but also trade in goods. A soldier might bring you ammunition from a military cache in exchange for civilian rations that fetch higher prices on the black market. A settler might trade family jewelry for antibiotics. A desperate person might trade information about military movements for food. Value is negotiable depending on supply and demand in any given week. Being a trader means constant calculation. You memorize prices. You learn which vendors are reliable and which will sell you counterfeit supplies that get people infected or dead. You learn to read people's desperation levels to determine pricing. Someone dying of infection will pay double what someone buying preventatively would pay. It's mathematics of survival. You're learning to extract maximum value from human desperation. But traders exist at the mercy of lieutenants. These are the people who control sections of the market. They ensure order. They enforce rules. They collect protection fees from every vendor. Your cut goes to Lieutenant Kane, a woman who used to run security for corporate buildings before society fractured. She's fair but terrifying. She visits your stall monthly to collect payment in caps and goods. You give her the best of your stock and she ensures no one robs you or interferes with your operations. 3 years into trading, you've accumulated significant capital. You're respected among vendors. You have regular customers who trust your supplies. You're approached by Kane directly during one of her visits. She wants you promoted to lieutenant. She needs someone to manage the northern sectors where her influence is weakening due to territory disputes. The pay is better. The authority is real. But the responsibility is crushing. You'll be managing 12 traders. You'll be enforcing market law. You'll be deciding what happens when someone steals from another vendor or sells poison supplies. You'll be deciding who gets cut off from market access, which is essentially a death sentence in this world. You accept because refusing is also a death sentence. As a lieutenant, your office is an actual room. A former bank vault converted into a command center with hand-drawn maps of market sectors, detailed inventory logs, and a communication system using runners and radio signals. You're managing resource distribution across wider territory. You're negotiating with other lieutenants about territorial boundaries and supply agreements. You're mediating disputes that can turn violent without warning. Someone sells counterfeit medicine that kills 3 people. You execute them publicly to maintain order. Someone steals supplies from another vendor's stall. You cut their hands off as punishment. Justice in the market is brutal but consistent. People need to know the consequences of breaking rules. You implement systems that bring order to chaos. You create ledger protocols that track every transaction. You establish price regulations so vendors don't gouge desperate people into unsustainable debt. You recruit a security force, runners who've proven loyal and capable. You're building infrastructure in a place that shouldn't have infrastructure, but does because survival requires organization. The infected population shifts. The government decides to seal off entire sectors of the city. Your market loses territory twice in 6 months. You negotiate with Central Market Command to consolidate operations and survive the culling. You're sitting across from the market director, a man called Saul who controls everything from the deepest bunker. He's evaluating your competence. He's deciding if you're worth keeping or if you're a liability that needs removing. You get expanded territory. This means more traders report to you. More runners work under your command. More responsibility. More people whose survival depends on your decisions. You're 25 years old and you've built an empire out of tunnels and desperation. But markets are fragile. Intelligence comes that the military is planning a sweep of the underground. They're going to purge what they call illegal commerce operations. Your traders are in danger. Your entire structure is threatened. You call an emergency meeting with the other lieutenants and present a plan: cooperation. If all market sectors work together, they can't take you all down simultaneously. You propose unified pricing, shared security, coordinated intelligence. The unification works partly. Some sectors resist the coordination. Those lieutenants who refuse are arrested by military forces. Your sector survives because of planning and political maneuvering. You're promoted to regional coordinator. You're now answering directly to Market Director Saul. You're attending strategy meetings in the central bunker where real power lives. Your new role involves strategy that extends beyond your tunnels. You're determining which settlements receive medical supplies and in what quantities. You're deciding which outposts get ammunition deliveries based on their loyalty to the market. You're essentially controlling survival resources across 12 square miles of territory. The weight of this is something that reorganizes your brain. Every decision ripples outward in ways you can't predict or control. Every life or death decision becomes routine. You're 27 and you've climbed to regional coordinator level. 3 years ago you were a runner carrying packages through darkness. Now you command 40 traders, 200 runners, and a security force of armed personnel. The bottle caps that once were your only payment now flow through systems you've designed. The markets run on efficiency you've implemented. One night you review transaction logs and notice a pattern. Supplies meant for civilian settlements are being diverted to military contacts. Investigation reveals one of your traders has been making independent deals to maximize profit. You call him in. He admits it immediately. He's been selling to both sides. You file charges with Market Director Saul. The trader will be executed. You feel nothing about it. The military increases restrictions. They're reducing what the market can access from external sources. Resources become scarcer. You implement rationing protocols that upset traders but keep the system functional. Some accuse you of corruption. Some threaten organized resistance. You respond by consolidating power and eliminating competition. Saul pulls you into meetings about market expansion into new territory. The infected population is dense in the eastern zones. Risk is astronomical. You refuse to expand there with data showing it would be unprofitable and destabilizing. Market leadership pushes back. You hold firm. They back down. You're too valuable to remove. You're 27, regional coordinator, commanding resources and people. The teenager who carried packages is completely gone. What remains is efficient. Strategic. Understanding the economics of survival in a world where money means nothing but value means everything. Tomorrow there will be more negotiations, more decisions, more vendors seeking advantage. You'll manage them the same way you've managed all others, with absolute understanding of cost and commitment to market stability. The infected still pound outside. Society still hasn't recovered. But here in the tunnels, you've built something that works. That's worth something, even if it costs everything.